So the next pose that we'll be looking at, or the next asana that we'll be looking, I do a lot of air quotes, so please forgive me if air quotes bother you. I find when I'm writing, even when I'm writing in my own journal or when I'm doing a blog post, I quote things all the time. So you may, if you receive emails from me or you read anything that I've written, I guess I do a lot of quoting. So there you go. Okay, so the next pose or asana that we'll be working on is called Savasana. And oh, look, it's on my shirt. When's Savasana? So you'll see sometimes it's spelled S-H and sometimes it's spelled S-A. And we're not doing a whole Sanskrit class, but these poses are in Sanskrit, which we'll talk a little bit about in a different lecture. But this is the way it's spelled, Savasana. So Savasana is our resting pose, or in the English terms is translated as corpse pose. So you will typically see this pose at the end of every yoga practice, every extended yoga practice. Sometimes you'll begin and end a yoga practice this way. Sometimes the whole yoga practice is lying down in Savasana. And something I said with the live beginner group is if you ever go to take a class somewhere and you're doing an extended hour, 45-minute plus class, and if there's no Savasana in the practice at the end, there's a problem, and I would advise not going back to that class. But I doubt you will ever see that. Some teachers say that Savasana is the most important pose of our practice. So, and I encourage you to explore it for yourself and see what you think. But it's our resting pose. We see it sometimes throughout the practice. We see it a lot at the end of practice, typically at the end of practice. So this is the pose where our body can completely relax, and this is where all the other things that we've done leading up to the practice, this is where it kind of culminates in the body. So this is where we rest and we let all the work that we've done up until that moment settle in with the body. So the body is at rest, and it allows the mind to be at rest, and allows the prana, the energy, to flow freely through the body, and just allows you to be in a nice deep relaxation. Sometimes people tend to fall asleep in this pose. It's not necessarily the goal, but if you do end up falling asleep, it just means that you need more sleep, so that's okay. I was going to say one more thing about this. Oh yes, so when we're in this pose, in a practice, let's say in a guided class, whether it's live or online or what have you, sometimes you're lying down and you're in complete silence, or other times there may be a guided meditation or a guided breathing practice, or some sort of guided special relaxation where you travel through the body. So there's a number of things that can happen in this pose. And just as always with our yoga practice, it's great to not have any expectations if you are taking a class of whether it's guided or not, whether there's music or not. You just let the experience be what it is. And it's a great thing to practice on your own, maybe at the end of a long day, you go and you take 5 or 10 minutes and you lie down on your mat in a quiet space and just allow the body to relax. So this pose can be practiced at any time. So the traditional way to practice Savasana, as I said, it's called corpse pose, right? So what does a corpse typically look like? Is we're lying down. So typically you lie down on your back. You want your feet to be relaxed, so just let the feet fall out. We'll have the arms down by the side. So typically the arms are kind of maybe not hugged tight to the body. They're a little bit out from the body. Or if it's more comfortable, the arms may be splayed out a little bit wider. And typically, again, if this is comfortable, you can have your palms face up. So I notice, at least for me, if my palms are turned down, it causes my shoulders to roll up. But if I turn my palms to face up, it allows my shoulders naturally to kind of roll out and open up. So this is the most basic pose, and as best as you can sense, you want the body to be in alignment. So you don't want one leg splaying out to the side and your head cocked in a weird way. So as best as you can, you want to get that head in nice alignment with your neck and with your spine, and the legs just comfortably apart with the feet rolling out and the palms facing up and the arms and shoulders relaxed. So the idea of this pose is that gravity pulls down on equal weights of the entire body. So everything is down on the ground. For the most part, obviously your spine curves up and behind your knees will pop up, things like that. But generally, gravity is equally pulling on the entire body. And so this way you can be in your most relaxed position. So I encourage you to practice this and see, am I comfortable just lying on my mat, just lying on my back in this way? And if for some reason, if you're lying for a few minutes and something starts to give yourself a little pang, or even when you first start, your neck's a little stiff or your lower back's not feeling good, you can always use props to support yourself in any way. So you may want to roll a towel under your neck or have a soft little pillow or a cushion under your head or your neck. You could always roll a blanket or something under your knees. So when we lift our knees up a little bit, it takes pressure off of the lower back. So those are the two most basic ways to support. And as you, if you've already watched the props video, if you haven't, if you watch it in the future, there's other ways to help this pose be even more relaxing. So you may want to cover up with a blanket. You may want to put an eye pillow or a scarf over the eyes. You may want to lay sandbags down. So there's a number of different ways we can make this pose even more cozy, even more relaxing. And if you find that lying on your back, even trying all the different varieties with the different props, if those things just don't work for you, then you can always come onto your side. So do some sort of a fetal position. And for those who are pregnant, you, especially after the first trimester, depending on how you feel, first trimester might be okay to lie on your back, but after the first trimester, you are always going to want to do Savasana on your side. And if you're not pregnant and back or side doesn't work for you, you may be more comfortable doing Savasana on your stomach. So you can always lay down on your stomach, maybe turn your head to one side and have the arms down by your side. So the idea is to find some sort of pose where you are most comfortable resting. Where again, just like when we were taking our comfortable seat, where you can find a way to be in stillness for an extended period of time. Because as we've been discussing, once we start to move the body, we distract ourselves, and then we've taken ourselves out of the moment. So we've taken ourselves out of that relaxation. If I start getting distracted because my shoulder doesn't feel good, or I'm itching my eyeball or something. So this is another good one. Practice. How am I most comfortable? And maybe you try a few different practices just lying on your back without props, and then you notice, you know, my lower back, actually, that doesn't really feel that good to me. So then maybe you try rolling a blanket under your knees, or placing a bolster or some blocks under your knees. Or, maybe you need a little cushion under the neck. If I'm, personally, if I lie in Shavasana for an extended period of time, there's some extended practices we do. They may last 20, 30, 45 minutes. Occasionally, the back of my head will start to feel too much pressure and will fall asleep. So in that case, if I know I'm doing a long practice, I'll definitely support something under my neck or under my head. So I encourage you to also play around with this pose and see see what the options are, maybe play around with some props, maybe start without props and see how it goes for you. And one more comment, and we'll talk about this more in the future in our practice, but when we're in the practice of Savasana at the end of our class, the end of our practice, the goal is to be relaxed but with awareness. And you'll hear me and you'll hear all the teachers say this. So the goal is to remain in a gentle awareness while being relaxed. So the goal is not to fall asleep. Now, you may fall asleep, like I said earlier, if you're really tired and you've had a rough week or a rough day, and that's fine. And it's a good, if you always are falling asleep in Savasana, it's a good reminder that, hey, maybe you need more sleep, or maybe you need to add naps in or something, but the body is clearly exhausted and needs that sleep. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no judgment. But the more you practice, as best as you can, we want to train ourselves to not fall asleep so that we can stay aware and stay awake and be present for this relaxation, whether it's a short 5-minute Shavasana or 15-minute Shavasana. The idea is to stay awake and stay present. Oh, and one more thing. So typically we're in this pose and we're lying on our back. So we've been in this relaxation pose for 5-10 minutes plus, let's say. So the teacher will guide you out of this pose, and you may wiggle into your fingers, stretch into your body. Now we've come out of this relaxation. We don't want to just jar ourselves by sitting up and jarring our body out of this relaxation. We want to come out of it in a gentle way. So what you'll do, and typically a teacher will guide you out of it, and if they don't, that's fine, is you'll be in this pose, and then you may wiggle into fingers and toes and stretch and come aware of your senses and do some breathing, whatever it may be, and then you'll be guided, and you want to, if you do this on your own, you'll want to roll onto one side into a fetal position. And you may be guided from a class, you may be guided to the right or to the left. There are different variations, there are different reasons for each, but rolling onto one side into a fetal position, you want to pause for a couple of breaths and then gently press yourself up with your hands and bring yourself back to a seat, using as little movement as possible. So the idea is not to just rush right out of this relaxation, just the same as we don't want to rush right out of our yoga practice and go straight back to the world, right? Straight back to the outside. We want to find a slow transition, a gentle transition, and we want to keep as much of those effects of the relaxation as we can. So we want to gently bring ourselves up to a sitting position, and then we pause. We quickly, as best as we can without too much movement, then we bring ourselves back to a seat. And there may be just some awareness, or there may be a meditation or something after that. And then you'll gently open the eyes, come back, and bring yourself back into your space and move on about the rest of your day. So just a few little extra tips and tricks for practicing the pose and coming out of the pose. So we'll see you for the next one.